We have a preseason schedule, at least, but are the Magic about to be overlooked, or is the NBA about to give them the attention they deserve? Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 12th. It will be August 13th, 2025. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic are heading to Puerto Rico as we get our preseason schedule, not our playoff schedule. We'll get to that later. With the Magic get their preseason schedule, we'll talk about what that means, plus why there is hope the NBA is about to give the Magic the attention they deserve, or maybe not. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, I want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We truly appreciate our Orlando Magic dailies who make Locked On Magic part of their day 5 days a week during the regular season and every day when we post an episode during the dog days of the summer, which we are currently in. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner, so visit FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. We have a preseason schedule. It's a preseason schedule. Don't freak out about anything in the preseason. The Magic construct their schedule the same every year. They play 4 preseason games, usually 2 on the road to start the preseason, 2 at home to end the preseason. There's nothing special about it. The Magic made their announcement. They're going to face the Miami Heat twice. We'll get to that first game here in a minute. They're going to face the Philadelphia 76ers, and they'll get that makeup game from last year's game being canceled against the New Orleans Pelicans. It's a preseason schedule. Who they're playing isn't important. It's just about getting those reps in and all that. We don't need to talk about that. But we do want to lead with the preseason, and we're going to talk schedule stuff here this may be our last episode before the schedule comes out. I haven't decided if I'm going to do an episode tomorrow or not. But we do want to pause and take a moment to talk about that first preseason game because the Orlando Magic were part of a very special announcement on Tuesday regarding that game. The Orlando Magic will open their preseason October 4th in San Juan, Puerto Rico against the Miami Heat. This has been a game that was reported to be in the works for 3 years. The Magic expressing interest in joining the Miami Heat in San Juan and continuing to expand their relationship with the island. Now, obviously, this is a Miami Heat home game. Nick Anderson and Ryan DeVos shipped down to Kaseya Center, went into enemy territory to announce this game and announce this partnership. But still, a very, very big moment. You may not realize this, you may not know this, but Orlando actually has the fifth largest Puerto Rican population in the country. Outside of the island, of course, according to the 2020 census. New York, Chicago, Philadelphia are the top 3 bigger cities you'd expect that are like those melting pot cities. Every year in April, late April, we have a big Puerto Rico Day parade here. It is a huge deal in downtown Orlando. It is natural for the Magic to be the team that's heading to Puerto Rico to play this game. And again, the Magic are playing a lot of games outside of Orlando and outside of the contiguous United States. They're going to play in Berlin and London in January. We'll talk about those games here in a minute as well. The Magic are very, very open to playing in new markets and expanding the horizons of their team. In fact, doing a little bit of research on this, the Orlando Magic have had a partnership with a university in Puerto Rico that has a campus here in Orlando, as well as have conducted basketball camps in Puerto Rico back in 2023. The relationship between Orlando and Puerto Rico is very, very tight. And Puerto Rico is a huge part of the city of Orlando and the culture of Orlando itself. This is story time now. This makes so much sense that the Magic are playing in Puerto Rico because one of the wildest times in Magic history was the 2006 season. Now, the 2006 season, not a lot to say about that season. The Magic went, I believe, 36-46 that year. Second season after Tracy McGrady left. They rallied at the end of the season. They had a worse year than the previous year, but they rallied at the end of the season after they traded Steve Francis. And we respect Steve Francis' tenure with the Orlando Magic. After they traded Steve Francis, they rallied and really made a show of things. They got eliminated from the playoffs in the last week on the last weekend of the season. And I was like, okay, the Magic are starting to figure some things out. Grant Hill was as healthy as he'd ever been. I believe Hito Turkoglu missed some time that season. And then the Magic, I think Hito Turkoglu was on the team at the time. Maybe he wasn't. And then the Magic rallied, made a show of things at the end, and then eventually had to sit out and wait for the playoffs. And the next year they were in the playoffs for the first time since Tracy McGrady's departure. In that season, the Magic made a really fun deal, the kind of deal that you should make when you're an up-and-coming team. The Detroit Pistons were looking to unload Darko Milicic, and the Magic were a happy team to take him and say, this guy is going to support our team. We're going to give him a chance to make some mistakes and actually get some playing time. And I'm a big Darko Milicic fan. He was awesome in Orlando, his best years in Orlando. We do not besmirch the name of Magic Darko. Magic Darko was a good player, not a great player, but a good player. The contours of that deal were simple. The Magic traded often injured center Kelvin Cato. He started alongside Dwight Howard a lot in his first year. They're still doing Twin Towers. The stretch four hadn't been really invented yet. It had been, but it wasn't widely used. And so the Magic traded for Darko Milicic to eventually start next to Dwight Howard. That was ultimately what they wanted to do. So they traded Kelvin Cato in a first-round pick, who became Rodney Stuckey, which burned the Magic in 2008 or in 2007. They traded those two for Darko Milicic and a journeyman point guard named Carlos Arroyo. Carlos Arroyo would average only 3 points per game with Detroit to that point. But if I told you the first game that Carlos Arroyo played in Orlando was against the Seattle Supersonics, a team that had the same poor record as the Orlando Magic. The Magic were 19-34 when they came home after two games there. And so Carlos Arroyo's first home game against the Seattle Supersonics team with like Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis, hardly a team anyone was going to try and go see at a time when the Magic were struggling to fill the TD Waterhouse Center. The Magic sold the game out. And the Magic had a near sellout the next time. And in fact, Carlos Arroyo became a thing. Carlos, like the Magic, I can't really describe how, like, I wouldn't say charged, but like there was an energy when Carlos Arroyo came in games. And the Magic took full advantage. They sold Puerto Rican flags at the fan stations inside the TD Waterhouse Center at the time. They sold jerseys they sold Carlos Arroyo jerseys. He was coming off the bench. The Magic were handing the keys to Jameer Nelson. Carlos Arroyo was coming off the bench as his backup. They sold more number 30 jerseys. You could probably find a number 30 jersey with the Puerto Rican flag on the sides more than you could find Dwight Howard jerseys at the time or Grant Hill jerseys at the time. That's how big Carlos Arroyo was in 2006. And he averaged 10 points per game to finish that season, had some of his best seasons of his career with the Magic before he ultimately left. And yes, he did play with the Heat, and I'm sure Carlos Arroyo will be a major luminary who is at these games at San Juan. He's still very active with the Puerto Rican national team, and obviously a hero of the Puerto Rican national team as well. That was 19 years ago now. It's almost 20 years ago now. Puerto Rican population is obviously still very big presence. And so for the Magic to head to Puerto Rico to have this opportunity, I think is just smart business sense. Like the Magic have an involvement there. Like, I don't know why. It's kind of amazing that it took the Magic this long to end up in the game. And frankly, it's a little embarrassing that Miami's the one spearheading this project. But I'm glad the Magic are doing this, and I'm glad and I think it's smart business sense, number one. But if you watch like WWE when they went to San Juan a few years ago, that is a passionate fan base. They love basketball, baseball, basketball, wrestling, like all the things that Orlando can be about. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. It's going to be a fun game. And I think it's going to be obviously a perfect match for the Orlando Magic. The other game that the Magic added, the other preseason games the Magic added, they're going to go to Philadelphia later that week. And then they'll host the Miami Heat at the Kia Center and then host the New Orleans Pelicans. And then that's their preseason schedule. They only play 4 preseason games before the season starts. We are, though, in the final countdown to the release of the NBA schedule. We're going to have a full NBA schedule release show on Friday. I may even come on early to break that down Thursday. Maybe we go live. I don't know. Maybe we should go live for that schedule release show. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about when the schedule comes out. There's already a lot out already. We've got the major games. We got the Christmas games. We got the regular season opener. We talked a little bit about those games. We've got the MLK games now. What are we learning about how the NBA's new TV partners are going to put the schedule together? And are the Magic due for a bigger presence? We're going to rehash that and recycle that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. August 26th, that is 2 weeks from Tuesday, is officially FanDuel Futures Day. A brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions, so whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. If you're looking at NFL futures involving your favorite Florida teams, we're going to look some of them up for you right now. You can get for the Super Bowl 40 winner, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are currently going at plus 2,500. That's a pretty good value for a team that should win the NFC South, but a team that has a lot of playoff experience. If you're looking for future specials, I'm not even going to look at some of these because they're kind of weird. But if you're looking at like win totals, the Jacksonville Jaguars currently over under 3.5 wins. Over 3.5 wins is minus 1,300. Over 4.5 wins, minus 700. Over 5.5 wins, minus 340. If you're really high on the Jaguars and what Travis Hunter can do, that is your ticket. If you're looking for futures with Travis Hunter to record 1,000 plus regular season receiving yards is plus 230. Travis Hunter to score 10 plus touchdowns combined offensive and defensive is plus 700. A lot of fun things to do with him. So this is your time to get in on futures in the NFL. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. Take advantage of this deal. FanDuel, play your game. We're dealing with futures today because we are looking ahead to the Orlando Magic schedule. And we're going to get the NBA Cup schedule tomorrow on Wednesday. And so we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to it. You know, our next episode, whether I do an episode tomorrow or not, we will talk about the Magic's NBA Cup schedule. Remember, they're playing Boston, Brooklyn, Detroit, and Charlotte in the NBA Cup. Boston, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Detroit. Now I don't even remember who they're playing. But we'll get to NBA Cup stuff and we'll break down that schedule. Over the last 2 days, we've gotten confirmation of the NBA's Christmas schedule. We've gotten confirmation of the NBA's opening night schedule on NBC, as well as their opening schedule. And now we've gotten their opening night schedule for ESPN, the Wednesday night schedule for ESPN, as well as the opening schedule for Martin Luther King Day. Now, we obviously know the Magic weren't playing on Martin Luther King Day because they're going to be in Berlin and London the weekend before Martin Luther King Day. They're going to play Thursday in Berlin, Sunday in London. That following Monday is Martin Luther King Day. Like I've said, like I've kind of mentioned, the NBA wants to highlight these international games. Almost assuredly, that Thursday game in Berlin is going to be on Amazon Prime. That would be my bet. Almost assuredly, both of those games will be somewhere nationally televised. I don't know if FanDuel is going to get those games. It wouldn't shock me if those are purely national television games. And maybe by the same network, they might both be on Amazon Prime. Reminder, that Sunday game against the Grizzlies in London is probably going up against the NFL playoffs. So you're not getting the NBC or ABC afternoon game on that. Plus, the opponents aren't that great. I've been curious. You know, when we talked about the schedule, I've talked a lot about the Magic getting attention, and the first thing, like we're all vain like this. One of the first things I do when I get the schedule is I see the national TV appearances, because like those are signified as big games. The Magic aren't the Lakers, aren't the Warriors, where they're going to get 20 of these things. They're going to get 5 or 6. I think they're going to get somewhere between 7, 8, 9. I think they're going to get, around 10, probably less than 10. And I know I've just gone from 5 to 10 very quickly. They got 5 last year. They ended the season with 7 total. I think they're going to end up with somewhere between 8, 9, or 10. I think they're going to end up with 8, 9, or 10 this year. But I have been extremely curious because for the first time in a very long time, first time since like the early 2000s, the NBA has new television partners. TNT is gone. And while like ESPN's going to have, we know what to expect from ESPN and their coverage, we don't know what kind of coverage NBC and Amazon are going to bring to us. We don't know the things that they want to prioritize. Now, obviously they want to prioritize people watching. They want people to subscribe to their networks, to their channels, and to watch these games. So we start there. They want people to subscribe and watch. And so I don't think there's going to be anything drastically different. The Lakers are still going to be on TV a lot. Steph Curry and the Warriors are still going to be on TV a lot. They're going to open the season against each other on NBC. Kevin Durant and the Rockets look like they'll get a lot more TV appearances because of Kevin Durant. The Celtics are going to end up with a lot of national TV appearances. But as I mentioned earlier this week, the Orlando Magic are part of the story now. There's no avoiding it. There's no denying the Magic are part of the story. And if putting together a national TV schedule is really about the story the league wants to tell and saying, these are the games, these are the players that are important to us that we want to feature. If you're putting it together like, say, a wrestling card, yeah, you have your mid-card matches throughout the thing, but you have a lot of stuff you're willing to excise. It's a story you want to tell through the course of your long season or your long show to get to your main event, which is the playoffs and everything else. You always have your big stars and you sprinkle them in throughout the show. Actually watch a wrestling show and see how they put together their card and all that. There is a pattern and a rhythm to it that makes sense. And a really good episode follows a very particular rhythm. The NBA is going to be doing the same thing, obviously. And so, again, the Magic aren't the main character of this story. They don't have a star that is completely recognizable by everybody. Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner are still introducing themselves to the world. They aren't a pure title contender. They aren't considered a true title contender. They haven't won a playoff series yet. And so the Magic aren't the main character. I'm not expecting 20, 25 games on national TV. I'd be silly if I expected that. But because of the move they made this summer to get Desmond Bane, you can go on FanDuel and you can't, NBA is not part of Futures Day in a couple weeks, but the Magic are the third favorite team to win the Eastern Conference. Whether the NBA likes it or not, they are part of the story. And that is why I think the Magic are going to get more national TV games. It is why I think the Magic are going to be more in the spotlight. Now, if you ask me this, I think that the Celtics will still have more national TV appearances than the Magic. I think the recognizable brand name matters. And to that point, as much as I would love to see this, and we'll talk a little about this in a minute, I would love to see the Magic and the Pistons play on national TV. That is a fun rivalry. It is a preview of two of the top two teams that are going to be near the top of the league throughout the next decade, throughout the next 5-6 years. I'd love to see a Magic Rockets, two teams that really are comparable, or Magic Wolves. But the NBA is going to want to pair the Magic up with a known brand. They're going to want to, if we're going to feature the Magic, let's make sure people are watching. So yes, I think we'll see Magic Cavs and Magic Celtics and Magic Knicks. Probably even Magic Bucks would probably be as low as I would go on that. They're going to pair the Magic with known brands. So as much as I'd love to see Magic Pistons or even Magic Pacers, which I think is a really fun matchup that a lot of the league is sleeping on, the league is going to put the Magic with brands that they know. That's what we have seen so far in the games that have been announced. And so again, we've only had 4 days of games announced. And these are the high profile days. Opening night on NBC, opening night on ESPN. So the Wednesday following the opening night on ESPN. Martin Luther King Day, which will be on NBC as well, and in Peacock. And then Christmas Day, which will be on the ESPN family of networks. In those games, we've seen 2 things become true. One, on those marquee days, the Eastern Conference is being ignored. So if you're a little worried that the Magic aren't going to be in the spotlight, that would be your share for concern. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks are matching up on Christmas Day. They're matching up on the opening night of the season, on Wednesday night of the season, on ESPN. That's 2 of their possible 4 matchups burned already as the only East teams on those marquee days. That's a thing. Now, Martin Luther King Day has a few more teams. The Atlanta Hawks will have a Peacock game. The Detroit Pistons will host the Boston Celtics on Martin Luther King Day as well. And as well as that, the Pistons are getting another game. I think they're playing the Bucks on Peacock's first exclusive day, the first Monday of the season. Something to consider. But this is why I'm a little more optimistic about the Magic. Because if the Pistons are going to be involved in some of these games, during the break, I'll make sure I get the games that have been announced. If the Pistons are getting this much attention, that might mean the Magic are going to get more attention too. So let's talk about whether things are truly different in how the NBA is constructing their schedule. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. Want to make sure I get the record correct here. First Peacock exclusive game, Monday, October 27th, first Monday of the season. You're getting the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Detroit Pistons and the Denver Nuggets at the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that is two Detroit games already announced in the national TV package. Now, whether we're going to count Peacock as the NBA TV games or not, I'm not ready to go there. I'm going to count Peacock games. So there are, just on that sense alone, there is a larger national TV inventory. Just kind of a reminder of how the national TV schedule is going to work this year. Monday will be NBC Day. Monday is Peacock exclusive day. So there'll be a Peacock exclusive game. I think they said potentially up to 3 Peacock exclusive games on Mondays. So Mondays are the lower ranked, lower tier games. So it's Peacock. Tuesday is one regional NBC game. So when you go to NBC, if you're on the East Coast, you'll get one game. On the West Coast, you'll get another game. And I assume those games will also be available on Peacock. So if you are on the East Coast and want to watch the West Coast game, you can turn on that. So there's another window. And again, kind of a bigger window for an East team to get in, although obviously there's a lot of Central Time Zone West Coast teams. Wednesday is still ESPN. Thursday after football will be Amazon Prime games. And I believe they might do some games before football ends, but Amazon Prime obviously puts a lot of resources to the NFL. The NBA is going to have to wait for the NFL to end to be Amazon Prime's main focus. Friday is ESPN. Saturday is the ESPN Saturday night package in January. And then Sunday, you'll get ESPN games, as well as after football ends, Basketball Night in America, kind of in that same time slot that Football Night in America was on during the football season. So that's how the national TV schedule is being constructed now, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, we'll get the full schedule on Thursday, and we'll get kind of the rhythm of these national TV games. The fact that we've seen the Pistons selected to host 2 marquee games already tells me 2 things. First, there is a little bit of a shift in strategy, because last year the Detroit Pistons did not get very many national TV games. They probably got, they're coming off a terrible season, so they maybe got 1 or 2 at most. So obviously finishing as this, the Magic the year they made the playoffs in 2024, had their breakthrough year. They had 1 national TV game. They moved up to 5. Now, I expect Detroit to get 5 or 6. I think they'll get more. And obviously, they had a really good showing. Cade Cunningham's a really good player. I'm not begrudging the Pistons their national TV appearances. They've already gotten 2 announced. So if they got 5, they got 3 more. So again, give them 3, 4, maybe 5 more. The Magic are probably on the same tier as far as national recognition as the Pistons. So if the Pistons are getting 2 marquee games already, that either says one of 2 things. One, it says the NBA believes in the Pistons a lot. Now, what evidence do they have to do other than last season? I don't know. And if that's the case, then the Magic should get that benefit of the doubt too, and get their share of national TV games that are just kind of hidden in the schedule that aren't on these marquee days. Martin Luther King Day is a big day. The Magic are in London. I do think that both the international games are going to be on national TV. Like I said, I think that Thursday game in Berlin is going to be on Amazon Prime. And I think that game in London is either going to be a Peacock exclusive game, an Amazon Prime exclusive game, or they're just going to put it on ESPN or ABC opposite the playoffs, the NFL playoffs. I believe that weekend is a divisional round. And so that might be their counter programming to the NFL playoffs, which isn't going to do great for ratings, but hey, at least you get a national TV appearance out of it. I don't know what they'll end up doing. That does feel like let's just concede the day to the NFL and put it on streaming somewhere, because we want to promote that we're in London, that we're playing an afternoon game in London. It's a noon tip-off, I believe, so they could probably get it in before the major games that day. I don't know. We're going to find out that answer on Thursday. But if they're promoting the Pistons this much, it also makes me think something that I've been thinking about, that NBC and Amazon are bringing a fresh approach to the kind of games that they want. Look, the fact that games are on Peacock to begin with, obviously you want to bring people in and subscribe to the service, but you want to differentiate a game that's going to be on NBC on your main network from games that are Peacock exclusive. And look, they put Notre Dame games as Peacock exclusive. They put Big Ten games as Peacock exclusives. They usually do feature a big team because they want to bring people in, but they're not putting Michigan, Ohio State's obviously like flex to Fox every year, but they're not putting the really big games on Peacock. They're not putting Ohio State, Penn State as a Peacock exclusive. They might put Wisconsin, Minnesota, which is a pretty big game for those that care, but they're not going to put the big games on there. And so the fact that there are these streaming only packages makes me think that they're going to say like, hey, let's use this as an opportunity to highlight and promote up and coming teams. Let's take a chance on the Magic. Let's take a chance on the Pistons. A Magic Heat game on a Monday evening on Peacock sounds like a pretty good time to me. As one of the two games on a Peacock doubleheader, sounds like a pretty good time to be. A Magic Clippers game or a Magic Lakers game on a Monday late evening on Peacock, the Lakers are going to draw, and the Magic are an interesting team to watch, who've played the Lakers very well over the last few years. They swept them last year, for crying out loud. I've thrown the Pistons under the bus a lot on this show, and look, I bring the Pistons up. We need to go have a chat with Koo and talk about this after the schedule comes out, maybe, because the Magic are going to play the Pistons in a huge NBA Cup game. Like, I think that game's going to be fun. I would love to see that Magic Pistons NBA Cup game on Amazon Prime or on whatever network it's going to be on. I don't know if that'll happen. The NBA Cup schedule is going to be a little different. I don't know what Cup nights are going to be this year, because Amazon Prime has such a stranglehold on the NBA Cup stuff. We'll find that out tomorrow as well. My official prediction is the Magic Celtics game is going to be on national TV. I think I think the Magic Celtics, I think one Magic Celtics game, one Magic Knicks game, and two Magic Cavs games will be on national TV. That's just my prediction for the upcoming season. We're going to find out just what these networks want to do with this team and what these networks view as valuable to them and the kind of stories they want to tell. If you saw like the packages that NBC put together to announce the opening of the schedule and kind of introduce the teams to their social media followings, the hype that they're creating for these games is so much better than what we've seen. Like honestly, like I've been talking to a few people and it feels like to me, NBC and Amazon are actually really excited to have the NBA and really invested in making the NBA feel big. The fact that I said the words basketball night in America as like a continuation of football night in America, which NBC does such a good job with football night in America. The fact that I said that like has me honestly really excited. Like I went back and grabbed some old NBA on NBC intros, like literally just like go on YouTube, type NBA on NBC intros, not the music intro, like the essay that Bob Costas or Marv Albert reads as they go into the broadcast. I remember as a kid how big those NBC games are. Like they feel big. And look, the Magic aren't going to be on basketball night in America this year. That's fine. We don't like that. They're not at that stage yet. They're not getting to ABC games yet. When they were on ABC last year, big deal, huge deal. They're not getting those games yet. We're talking about midweek games. The Magic are going to get their share. Again, my official predictions. We'll see what the NBA Cup looks like, but I do think the Magic Celtics game in the NBA Cup is going to be on national TV. And I do think that the Magic are going to end up with 8 or 9 national TV games at the end of the day. And then we'll see what gets added. Honestly, like I still think the NBA should have the approach of we're going to schedule out the first half of the season, and then the national TV schedule becomes a little more fluid, and we're going to pick games that are on the schedule. And they obviously have some idea what they want, but they're going to pick games that are on the schedule that make sense for the teams as the season develops. I still think that's a better way to approach. And again, tell the story of the season. Again, schedule stuff is weird. It's I don't know. They have numbers that probably dispute everything that I've said. But I think the main takeaway here is that the schedule tells the story of the season, or tells the story the NBA wants to tell of the season. And so the interesting thing that's going to happen now is we're going to find out just how big a part of the schedule, how big a part of the story the NBA thinks the Magic are. It starts with that NBA Cup schedule, as now everyone's going to have a big piece of that puzzle unveiled on Wednesday. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You, of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun ways to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. You can find our podcast as well on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, you can check out my Patreon. For even more on the Orlando Magic, you can check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, making me your first listen of the day, go make Locked On NBA your second listen of the day, because there is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, schedules, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, be sure to check out the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I recorded my season preview session with Josh Lloyd before I jumped on here and recorded this episode. So check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball for our Orlando Magic preview there as well. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, we'll break down the Magic's NBA Cup schedule, which comes out Wednesday afternoon, as well as Amazon Prime game, as well as key Amazon Prime games. We'll talk about all of that. Plus, I'm promising we're going to get to Jalen Suggs shooting and why I think he is in for a big, big season. We're going to jump into that either tomorrow or early next week. So that's coming up on the show as well. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. This has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.